The TVS Apache RR 310 has finally been launched in India today. After showing the Akula 310 almost 2 years ago, bikers from all over the country were waiting for this motorcycle to add to the variety of the market. With the R3 and the CBR 250R no longer being sold, I think this new product from TVS will easily gain a good market share. Hey, this is Rahul and let's jump right into the 10 things that you should know about the Apache RR 310. First of all, it's a 310cc single-cylinder engine that produces 34 bhp of power at 9,700 rpm and 27.3 Nm of torque at 7.7 thousand rpm. This you already know from the specs, but did you know that it's a new type of engine called reverse DOHC? They claim that it moves the crankshaft close to the front wheel that finally makes the aluminum swing arm longer, and they claim that it will give the motorcycle better riding dynamics. Drag bikes often use ultra-long swing arms to make them stable on the straight lines, but that has an adverse effect on the handling. I presume that Apache tries to strike a balance between stability and agility. Apart from looking super stylish, all that plastic fairing is not just for pleasing the faired bike Indian fanboy, but to give this motorcycle the lowest drag coefficient in its class, and they have thoroughly wind tunnel tested it. I presume that is the reason why this motorcycle can reach a top speed of 160 km per hour and also attain 0 to 60 km per hour in just 2.93 seconds. Though I would have liked to know the 0 to 100 timings as well, so that we could do a direct comparison against the likes of the 2017 KTM RC390. The fairing also increased the downdraft to flow more air into the engine, which would result in better combustion of fuel, and also hot air is being taken out via the gills on the side to keep the engine cooler. This seems to me like a direct page out of the S1000RR's cooling system, and it makes sense since BMW was strongly connected in the design and development process of this motorcycle. This is the first time that Apache has been equipped with a trellis frame, and this is good for keeping the weight down, and the rigid chassis will improve overall feel and riding dynamics. The motorcycle comes in at a wet weight of 169.5 kgs, which is pretty impressive. ABS is standard on the Apache RR 310, which means you won't have to wait for more than 2 years like you had to wait for the ABS model on the Apache RTR 200 4V, but jokes apart, this motorcycle has both liquid cooling and oil cooling. They seem to have realized the heating issue on the KTM bikes and developed the fairing along with heat shields to keep the heat away from the rider and keep the engine as cool as possible in our hot, humid riding conditions. They do want you to believe that the Apache is a pure track machine, but a look at the riding posture does say that it is a pretty relaxed and more like a sports tourer, which is going to be good for both city riding and touring, which is what 90% of the customers want anyways. The 810mm seat height will also ensure that shorter riders and even women riders would have no problems using this bike and getting both feet down, planted on the ground pretty well. When it comes to the kit, apart from the ABS, the Apache does get upside down forks which are tuned by KYB and a floating monoshock at the rear, 310mm single pedal disc up front with a 240mm single pedal disc at the rear, and the motorcycle does come with Michelin Street Pilot tires. I'm not really a big fan of these tires on track, but for city and highway use these should be fine. They also have full LED lighting system with dual projector LED headlamps, much like the RC390. The console is all digital and the vertical look is not just for styling. They wanted a narrower fairing to maximize aerodynamics, and that meant the console had to be designed with a vertical layout. It kind of reminds me of the KTM RC8 console. I'm not saying it's a copy, it's just what it reminds me of. So after listening to all this, I'm sure that you're looking for a test drive or maybe even booking the motorcycle. That finally brings us to the pricing. At 2,05,000 rupees ex-showroom Delhi, it's 20,000 rupees cheaper than the KTM RC390, though the KTM does have the upper hand in performance and better features like throttle-by-wire, Metzeler tires, and a proven track record of performance. I still think that this bike makes a lot of sense since it makes the riding position comfortable and with the low seat height, and it's also a new entry to the market which makes it look really attractive, and I have to admit it looks absolutely stunning. This bike would do well, especially since there is nothing left to fill the gap after the CBR 250 and the R3 left the Indian market. This motorcycle actually will live greatly on the track and then will come back and do your city commutes. So it's more of a balanced approach. As far as my understanding goes, the Indian audience does prefer that because most of us don't own two motorcycles. Let me know, are you planning to buy this motorcycle? Or what do you think about the features and the pricing? If this is the first time on the channel, do subscribe and wait for the review when we finally ride this motorcycle, and I will try to do a comparison against the 2017 KTM RC390. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you very soon. This is Rahul. Goodbye.